Hey everybody, it's Lee Perry, and I'm up late again with a kind of a random prototype idea that I figured I would come down and knock out. And why not film it while I'm doing it? And maybe you guys will, who are more interested in doing kind of prototype work or little game design, might find it interesting. I hope so. And it may be a spectacular failure, but those are as valuable for learning as anything else. So here goes nothing. For this, basically, I kind of had this idea. I was looking at a couple of cool iPhone racing games that were kind of top down before, and thinking of the control schemes for them. And I was thinking it might be kind of cool to try a control scheme where all you're doing is kind of using your finger on the screen to kind of set your lane position, where you're not really steering the car in kind of an absolute, but you're just kind of drifting, side to side, back and forth. So I guess to some degree it's kind of like you would imagine maybe some doodle jump element to it, but without the jumping, and then it's kind of curved and extruded along a track. So I picture this as something you would be dodging things, and who knows, it may turn into something completely different by the time I'm done. But yeah, let's jump in. Woo! So I'm going to start off in a straight up blank UDK map, and I've got some meshes over here that I'm going to use to kind of lay down kind of a track, as well as I'm going to use a vehicle, but I'm not going to use any of the traditional vehicle physics. So first off, I'm just going to kind of use these sidewalk pieces over here and start kind of throwing these down to form a little bit of a kind of a goofy racetrack, literally. So I'm going to do this for a second, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I've ended up with this kind of simple little shape. It's just a bunch of little sidewalk pieces. I mean, obviously this is not what it would look like eventually. I need to grab a vehicle, so I think there's some stuff already in the packages here. Yes, the Scorpion. Drag that in over here. Obviously, a little large. So part of my kind of control scheme plan for this is that I'd like to have a control system that just all you're controlling is your lane position. So you're not necessarily steering the vehicle kind of with a four-way joystick or anything. You're just kind of controlling almost like a slider as to where it is in this lane. And then basically having a bunch of traffic on the course with you. And so to some degree you're kind of doing a, I don't know, doodle jump type thing where you're dodging things as you're moving. But it's essentially about, trying not to hit things. And I'm going to try and do a couple of cool velocity tricks with this, because it's going to be driven entirely by Matinee, which is our animation system. So I'm going to try and do something where it maintains a constant velocity of the car, so that it'll still be beneficial for you to make a cool racing line. So we'll see how that goes. The first step to making any kind of movement on this is going to be kind of getting this thing to kind of traverse around the track. And so the first thing I need to do that is basically just put a simple Matinee path on this thing where I'm going to drive it around the center of the track. So that'll take me a second. Be right back. To show a bit of progress here, essentially what I've got is my Matinee thing over here, where I can scrub through this, and you can kind of see from the top view it moving along this path. And so this is a very rough path, but what I did was I set a keyframe at every section of track at 1 second long. So now I basically need to go back and put in some little in-between frames here that make it follow the track better. And again, I'm not too worried about the velocity of the car along here, because I'm going to adjust that dynamically anyway. So let me refine this a bit. Alright, I dropped in a whole bunch of little in-between frames. You can see here now I've got the car kind of following the path a little better. Still not perfect, but it's good. What I want to do now is set up a very simple little camera system where I've got a camera in the level that is following this thing. That'll take just a second. Alright, I'll do this camera thing while we're watching. Just go over to the actor browser. The camera actor is one of the very top ones here. And I'm just going to drag that over here into my level. I'll put this out of place. I can try and possess it with a little icon here. And try and get kind of how much I want this field of view to feel like, or a good position for it. I think something like this is probably going to work pretty well. So basically what I want to do is make this feel like kind of almost like a security camera that's tracking the car as it goes around the track. So one of the ways I'm going to have this set up is I have a matinee that is my car moving around the track, and I've got another matinee that is going to be my camera. So I set this up where I've got a camera group with a movement track, and I've also got another group that is like a target, which is what the camera is going to look at. So one of the tricks here is that I can't use the same car model as a target for both of these matinees because they're going to be playing at the same time, and two things trying to move one object is going to create a conflict. So what I'm actually doing is I've duplicated my little Jeep over here, and I'm going to make like a kind of a goofy squished version of it. And this thing is going to be hidden when I'm in the game, but it's going to be attached to that car, and that is going to be what the camera is actually tracking and not the car itself. So I can set that up and just take a second. Alright, I've got that attached. So I've got my two matinees over here in Kismet. I want to throw down an event that basically says whenever the level is loaded, I'm going to play this, and I'm going to play this. So again, this is going to move the car, and this is going to tell the camera to look at it. And I have both of these down here in the properties set to looping, which you'll see, which is means they'll continually run. This will be the first time I've ran this, so this may fail miserably, but let's see. I'm going to try it in the game. Okay, and I forgot to tell in Kismet for it to use that camera. So what I do here is I set an action under camera. There's a set camera target, and as soon as the level starts, what I need to do is, excuse me for a second, you can hold down P and drop down a player. I need to tell the player's camera to use the new camera that I've set up there. So I set that for the camera target. And let's try again. That should fix it. Alright, so it's using the camera now. The car is moving along the path, but it's not tracking it. And I know why that is. Okay, so over here in Matinee, what I have is this is my camera, and this is telling it what to target. There's different ways you can animate things in Matinee. The thing I've forgotten to do here is to set what kind of an animation mode the camera is. And so down here in the properties there's a couple of things that are obviously what we'll need to do. One is called look at group in the rotation mode. If you set that, and then you set up here kind of the look at group name, and if you remember I set that to target, so I can type target in that little area. And I believe now that should tell the camera, yes, there we are, okay. So now I've got the camera going around the track, the car going around the track rather, and the camera is following it. Now again, right now the velocity of the car is all uneven because I just laid down kind of a rough path. But the basics are there, so that's pretty cool. One of the things I think I'd like to kind of tighten up that camera some so you can see more of the car. So I can double click on that, open the properties for that camera, camera actor, set the camera FOV here to, I don't know, I'll try 45, just pulling a number out of nothing. And that's working pretty well. This would be incredibly hard for the game type I'm talking about, though, to kind of control your lane position from like that side of the track. It's really kind of difficult. So what I'm going to try and do is get a better camera position where I'm going to lift up the camera significantly and try to get a little more of a kind of a top-down view, and maybe tighten up the FOV to compensate for the fact that I just raised the camera up significantly. I'll try that at like 30 and kind of see how we get. Yeah, so that's a bit better. You might be able to, you know, actually make some meaningful decisions about how to drive a car from that distance. Still pretty big. This is probably more like what you'd see on a tablet. I'll try one more quick approach here and drop in the camera angle. I'll tighten it up even more. I'll try something crazy like 10 and see what we get from that. Oh, now we're talking. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. That may be a little snug in terms of trying to see traffic or actually dodge things. So I know, I told you I would just do one more, but I'm going to try one more, split the difference, try a 15-degree camera angle. Yeah, that's good there. Okay, so my next step is going to be making another matinee that basically makes the car able to kind of swerve left and right within this path that it's set. And so the car that you see there is going to be kind of the base that another car is attached to, and then this car will be hidden. It'll have no collision, so this is just kind of a ghost car that just tells me where the center of the track is. So I'll set that up real quick. It should just take a second. So the way I've got this set up is that this is going to be the car that's visible. I've got another version of the car that I have flattened down here on the ground. Kind of looks like a shadow. And then I have this other kind of tall version here that's just kind of the camera target, which looks kind of absurd. But this one and the one on the ground I'm going to make hidden while we're in the game. So selecting both of those, grabbing in their properties, going over here, very simple, in the display you type hidden. And of course when I play that now, all you see is the car. So the goal for this is that this is attached to the shadow. The shadow that's on the ground is going to be the one that's actually driving straight down the track. This car is going to be the one that kind of like strafes along the track with your input. So that's pretty straightforward. All I need to do is basically make a matinee sequence that is going left to right here, and I'll have your input kind of drive that matinee sequence as to where it is on that like animation curve. Should be straightforward. Alright, what I have here is my visible car, and then I set up a very simple little matinee. It's very straightforward. It just scrolls left and right, and when I scroll left or right, you see the car kind of scroll left and right with me. So to kind of see if this is working or not, I'm going to go ahead and tell this matinee to play. And I kind of want it to ping back and forth. So I'm going to use a little bit of a ghetto version of doing that, where I'm going to tell the matinee when it's completed to reverse itself. And if it's reversed itself, when that is completed, to play itself again. And so I kind of make this thing loop back on itself, and that's going to make the thing go left and right as it goes around the track. In theory, that's what we should see now. Yes. So now you see it's a very linear motion, pinging back and forth, left, right, inside, outside kind of curve. So two major steps kind of remain at this point, and they both have kind of to do with the control system. Now what I want to do is basically make this left-right motion tied to the tilt of my phone. So I'm going to use the UDK remote thing like I did in one of the other prototypes, where my touch screen, yeah, I'll probably do touch instead of leaning. I don't think people generally like tilt controls much, but I kind of picture this as more like a slider along the bottom of the screen as to where your lane position is. So it's time to get down and dirty with the UDK remote. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so we've got a couple of developments here. Basically what I've got is a Kismet event over here that's an input action that as I touch the screen, it tells me kind of the coordinates on the screen of where I'm touching it. So every time I'm moving my finger around, I'm telling it to tell me numerically where I'm touching it. So when I go over here and I play this, and it's got to be in the mobile browser view in order to get touch events. I swapped a different background on there. Anyway, you can see my mouse cursor here. And as I start touching this, you'll see the numbers again down there at the bottom telling me the orientation, or where I'm touching on the screen. So, I had a couple of problems here. A, my other phone that I usually use, UDK remote, is not working right now for some reason. So I'm just going to use my cursor here and imagine this is my finger on the phone. The other thing is I need to do a little more research on how to make the mobile preview here kind of rotate, you know, as it theoretically should be kind of vertical. I picture this being a vertical orientation thing and your finger kind of scrolling around on the bottom. But as is with a lot of the prototyping, you know, a lot of times this stuff doesn't end up perfect. This is kind of more for a proof of concept. So I'm going to continue working on this and just basically tilt my head, imagining that this is the bottom of the screen, and keep moving ahead, because that's basically it's a lot easier than waiting for someone to come in here and help me do it. So always progressing. So now what I'm going to try and do is get this number that I'm getting off the screen here that shows me my position to kind of drive the lane position of the car. And one thing that's pretty cool about this is you'll notice this camera, and this was totally fortuitous, it wasn't through any big intent. The car is always kind of facing to the right. It never appears to drive back towards the left. So if you think about it as this being up on the screen, it's going to be pretty cool for you moving your finger back and forth and making it kind of work. It's never going to be kind of mirrored and coming back at you. So I was expecting to do a whole lot of camera shenanigans, but this kind of works well enough. So I'm going to cut right to and try and make the control system work. My first little trick here is that previously I was just using a log and telling myself what the touch position is. And it's always somewhere between 0 and 720 pixels on the screen. So I'm doing a little bit of Kismet math here where I'm dividing that by 720, and what I'm trying to do is get a number between 0 and 1 because, you know, the value of 720 doesn't really do much for me. I want a number that's between 0 and 1, so I'm just doing a quick divide. And then I'm going to use that when I have a 0 and 1 to drive the lane position, because this is a 1-second animation. I'm going to use a cool little feature up there in a minute to make that work. But for now, basically I'm doing the division and then I'm doing the log to tell me what the result of that math was. And I think you'll see now, hypothetically, as I drag this around over here, instead of 720 or whatever, I get numbers that are, again, between 0 and 1. So that's working. Cool. Basically now I just need to drive some matinee with that, and we'll see how that works. Okay, how this works is I've created a little area up here this whole box is going to be to drive the lane position. So this is my actual matinee. And you'll notice you can right-click on a lot of actions and expose variables. Now what this means is, whereas these other matinees just have, you know, a couple objects off the bottom, on a matinee down here in its properties, there's a thing called a force start position, which says, you know, hey, I want to start this movie halfway through or 0.3 of the way through, etc. So you can right-click on here and expose that as the float here, which is what I've done. So I've got force start position is exposed here on a float. So this is the where on the timeline when I tell this to play, it's going to start. So what I'm going to do is use, when the level's loaded, I'm going to start doing this delay. And this delay, when it's finished, it loops back on itself. So I've created this kind of infinitely looping timing mechanism down here. Be careful looping stuff back on itself like this, and just, you know, for prototyping, because you can quickly create some nasty stuff like that. But so what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to run this loop. So this is constantly firing off very fast. And that's going to go to the switch here. That's going to fire off one of these links and the other, one then the other, etc. So I want the first one to hit play, and I want the second one to hit stop. Now the reason I'm doing that is, excuse me, make that a little clearer. So the reason I'm doing that is because this matinee will only update the start position every time it's started. And so I'm telling it to stop a lot and play a lot. So that's how many times a second it's going to update where you are in the lane. So this start position should be between 0 and 1. So what I should be able to do is down here on my little math thing, this is the result. So whatever the result of that math is, I'm going to drag that over and hook that up to my start position. No better way to see if something works than to give it a shot. So let's try and see what we get. For all I know, this may just work. Hey, there we go. Okay, so my cursor here, left and right, as it goes up or down, I'm actually driving where I am in the lane right now. So if I click and drag this up, I'm on the left side of the lane, and going on the right side, etc. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I mean, you could imagine that your finger is on this. You know, if this were on your phone or whatever, that your thumb or finger down here would be moving this left and right, and your car would be tracking kind of its lane position based on where your finger is. And it's very choppy right now. You can see it's kind of hitching, and that's just kind of a side effect of the fact that I'm really bastardizing the whole point of matinee by starting and stopping it often, as opposed to kind of letting it roll through kind of a smooth sequence. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That actually works left, right. You can see it moving on the lane. So you can imagine basically what I'm going to do now is litter the track with, you know, kind of things that I would want to dodge as the player. And I'll do that real quick just for reference. So I've got some seriously ghetto obstacles slapped over here. I just threw some barrels, and I slowed my kind of play rate down some because I realized how very challenging it was to try and dodge anything at the speed it was at earlier. So I cut it down in half. Ideally, you could, you know, set these up to be physics or slow you down or penalize you or they explode or whatever. I think what I'm going to do now is try to work up a kind of a cool mechanic where my velocity is always constant. So I need to clear up the way that it's kind of, you know, speeding up and slowing down just based on the fact that it's a Kismet. So what I'm going to try and do is just constantly get the velocity of the object, and if it slows down, then I'm going to speed up the play rate of the Kismet, and if it seems like I'm going too fast, then I'm going to slow down the play rate of the Kismet, the matinee that's driving me along this path, and we'll see how that goes. Strangely fascinated with playing this. It kind of reminds me of old RC Pro-Am days or something, but and I wasn't intending this to be kind of a RC car at first, but the sidewalk mesh that I used as a placeholder ironically kind of fits that. So sound effects added for free. All right, cool. So let me try this velocity thing and get back. Wow, so I've got some strange stuff going on here. So basically what I'm doing to try, when the level starts, I do a little loop here, about 20 times a second. I get the velocity of my vehicle, the one that's actually moving. and then it writes out that velocity to a float here, and then I log it, which in theory should be pretty straightforward, but I'm noticing some kind of bizarre artifacts, which are, as I'm driving this around, my speed seems relatively constant. It's very constant in the straightaways because that's very linear, and the animation curves don't really affect that. So you can see, like, when it goes in a straightaway, the numbers all stay the same. But for some reason, the calculations seem to deteriorate. So I've got some kind of a issue with my technique here for some reason. Anyway, long story short, it's late, and I think I'm going to bail on trying to dynamically control my speed, and instead just kind of enjoy the fact that I made a little dodgy thing. Because I actually thought that was kind of fun. I think, if I come back to this in the future, maybe I'll make these, more along the lines of traffic, other moving vehicles or whatever that I'm trying to dodge. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it's inspired you to maybe go try something on your own. I've had a couple more technical problems with this than I have in the past, but due to my phone, I'm not sure what's up with that, but typically. Anyway. So that's another fun little prototype test there. Trying to, just sort something out. Who knows? Probably never use it, but, the whole thing took me, about an hour to kind of jot together, and kind of, that's the point of this whole process is, make it fast, and if it's not something that's cool, hey, you throw it away, and you didn't really lose a lot of time on it, so no harm done. And that's the beauty of the tool, so I didn't really have to go to anyone and, have somebody make tools for me or so to do it. Ideally, I could have someone sort out the kind of screen orientation thing, but I know how that's done. It just didn't feel like going in and editing all the INI files for this particular game and making a custom setting for it, but I'm sure somewhere out there there's an easier way to do it. But when I'm knocking this stuff out as fast as possible, I try not to get caught up on this one thing is wrong and I really need to fix that, and so all other progress halts while I try to fix that one thing. If something gets in your way, screw it. Okay, blow by it. So my screen is rotated 90 degrees. At least I finished it, and I got to, try and, see if something was going to work. And that's the point. So anyway, I'm sure that was boring as hell to lots of you, as usual, but for anyone who's interested in doing more prototyping stuff, I hope it's helpful. I hope it gives you some ideas on how to use, tools in kind of an unorthodox way. Because that's kind of how all this stuff gets made. Anyway, Lee Perry signing out, so thanks for watching, everybody.